on to our lab. Step 1, we are going to put 10 milliliters of each antacid into our test tubes. So here I have our happy little test tubes. And for our first one, we have 10 milliliters of Pepto-Bismol. Notice we're not making a giant mess everywhere. The next one over is our Tums. Then baking soda. Alka-Seltzer. And my Lenta. So we have 10 of each in here. Didn't make a huge mess doing it. Step 2 is 5 drops of Phenol Red into each tube. So we're going to take our Phenol Red and do 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'm going to do 3 because these drops are really big. So notice that our Phenol Red is like sitting on top of these substances. Don't touch the card, don't touch the card, don't touch the card. Don't touch the card. Okay, so we have to stir them in. And when we do, we have our substances at, start reacting with that Phenol Red, or that Phenol Red reacts with those hydrogen ions, and they start turning colors based on that scale that you saw on the PowerPoint. So at this point, you're going to take a look at the scale that's on your PowerPoint, and you're going to decide where on that Phenol Red scale each of these substances fall. So you'll probably notice that like Pepto-Bismol is right around an 8 when you compare the colors, so is Tums. But for our baking soda, it's much darker, so it's more of like a 9 on that scale. And then with Alka-Seltzer, you'll see what Alka-Seltzer and Mylanta are. So go ahead and take a minute. You're gonna probably need to pause this video, go to that PowerPoint, please don't touch the cart, and look at the scale to classify the pH of these substances. So step 3, now we're going to start adding our acid, because these antacids are meant to neutralize stomach acid. So we're going to count the number of drops required to get the substance to neutral. And neutral, remember, based on that scale, is kind of an orangey color. So it's going to be the same color as water would be if we had pure water. And if it turns yellow, we've gone too far, because yellow is an acid. So we're going to start off with each of these by doing 1 drop, because some of them are going to turn pretty instantly. So if we stir our Pepto-Bismol here, we can see no big change. We're going to need to add more. But holy cow, check out that. Tums instantly turned yellow. So we can see that 1 drop of vinegar turned Tums to be acidic. Therefore, it's not a super great antacid. So on your data table for number of vinegar drops, we're going to want to label this 1. Baking soda, not a big change here either. Alka-Seltzer, man, he's already sitting at neutral, so we're going to label Alka-Seltzer with 1 drop. And look at that. Mylanta also is only able to neutralize 1 drop of our vinegar. So we have 3 things that obviously aren't real great antacids. So now with baking soda, we have our 1 drop, and we're going to do a few more. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and give it a little stir.
Is that baking soda?
Keeping in mind that the vinegar here, or the color of the baking soda, is going to throw it off. 6, 7, 8, because it's already pink. 9, 10, 11.
That was 12.
12, 13, 14. All the time getting a little bit lighter. 15, 16, 17. 18, 19, 20. And because the pink is in there, we can see that it's starting to turn a little bit more orange. So we're going to call this 20 for Pepto-Bismol because that pink is going to throw that color off. With baking soda, we already had 1 drop in here. So we're going to add a few more. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't touch the card, buddy. Sorry about that. 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, it's starting to lighten up. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And we're definitely getting to where we are at a neutral substance. So we can label him as 20 drops of vinegar as well. The last step that we need to do in our lab is to rank these substances from the best to the worst antacid. So looking at your data table, I want you to take a look at which substance took the most vinegar drops to neutralize. And that is going to be number 1. Number 2 will be the next most, 3, 4. Please don't touch the cart. And the worst antacid is going to be the one that took 0 or 1 drops to neutralize. So you're going to rank on your data table your antacids. Finally, we're going to write a conclusion on your data sheet, and you're going to recommend the best antacid to somebody with heartburn. You're not just going to write the name of the substance. I want you to write a complete sentence telling them why to take that based on the data and your knowledge of the pH scale. So if you need to pause the video, that's okay. Go ahead and write your conclusion.
I don't know what happened. It's not really I don't know. Some experiment. Yes. It's been a very long one.
Okay, the last part up at the top, we're looking at variables. There are 3 kinds of variables
That was the last one.
that we can have in a lab experiment, which you learned about on week 1. The first kind is your control variables. So I want you to think about what things at the beginning of this were the same in all of the test tubes. There are 2 of them, 2 things that we did exactly the same to all of the test tubes. Those are your control variables. The independent variable is the thing that we intentionally changed, that we did different between all of the test tubes at the very beginning. So you're going to label the independent variable of the test tubes as the thing that was different between the tubes at the beginning. The last one is your dependent variable, and that's going to be the thing that we measured, that was our measured outcome at the end of the experiment, our manipulated or measured outcome. So we now have conducted your Stomach Savers lab. I had some youngsters coming in here from an after-school program, so sorry about any interruptions that were in the audio, but you should be able to complete your lab paper now and get that turned into your instructor.